This is Part 2, Episode 95. Wang Lin sat in the lotus position inside the cave and took out the bag Du Qian had given him. After scanning it with his divine sense, his expression became strange. He knew that Du Qian had taken a lot of celestial jades, but he didn't know the exact number. Whenever those sects handed over the celestial jades, Du Qian would instantly put them inside this bag. Now that he saw them, he couldn't help but feel shocked. This tiny bag contains more than 100 times the celestial jades I got from the celestial realm. No wonder this soul refining sect has had so many soul transformation cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He shook the bag and then a large number of celestial jades surrounded him. In an instant, the cave was filled with rich celestial spiritual energy. This was only a portion of what was in the bag. Wang Lin carefully put the bag away and began to cultivate to absorb the celestial spiritual energy. The celestial spiritual energy flooded into his body and began to refine the spiritual energy inside him. Wang Lin had already experienced this before, so he easily started it again to begin his breakthrough to the soul transformation stage. As a large amount of celestial spiritual energy entered his body, all of the spiritual energy inside him condensed into a ball. This ball was like a cultivator's golden core, but the difference was like heaven and earth. 3 days later, the celestial jades around Wang Lin turned grey and cracks appeared on them, then they finally turned to dust. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to slap the bag once more. He took out a large number of celestial jades again. The absorption of celestial spiritual energy never stopped. It quickly entered Wang Lin's body to refine the spiritual energy inside him, as well as his flesh and bones. The first step to the soul transformation stage is to completely refine the body so that it can withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy. Before the celestial realm collapsed, there was no need to do all of this. All they had to do was go into the spirit cleansing pool for a few months to rid themselves of their mortal bodies and obtain one that could withstand celestial spiritual energy. However, now that the celestial realm is destroyed and the spirit cleansing pools are gone, cultivators need a large number of celestial jades to remove their mortal roots. When one's mortal roots are completely removed, the first step is complete. The second step is for one's origin soul to go from non-corporeal to corporeal. Although it can't replace the physical body, a corporeal origin soul is several times more powerful and has the ability to protect itself. A way to look at it is like this. The nascent soul is like a baby and the origin soul is the baby growing up to become a youth. Next, the soul transformation stage brings about a mysterious change. The youth grows up into a powerful young adult with weapons in his hands. At this stage, the origin soul is far more powerful than an origin soul at the soul formation stage. Sichunan's soul being so large is a sign that he has broken past the soul transformation stage. Even an ascendant cultivator's soul is the same size as a soul transformation cultivator's. Only when one breaks past the ascendant stage to the next step will there be other changes. However, that level was too far for Wang Lin to consider. Time slowly passed. A large number of the celestial jades in his bag had already been absorbed, and surrounding him were marks of celestial jades that had turned to dust. The ball of spiritual energy in his dantian cracked on this day, and a powerful suction force came from the crack. All of the celestial spiritual energy Wang Lin had absorbed was sucked in. Even the celestial jades he had just taken out turned to dust as the celestial spiritual energy from them was sucked into that crack. The ball of spiritual energy gradually changed colors. It had started out green and was now glowing gold. Wang Lin's mind was still clear, so he calmly watched the change in his body as if he was watching someone else. Shortly after, when all of the celestial spiritual energy was absorbed by the ball of spiritual energy, the ball became completely golden. If one were to pull it out of his body, it would look exactly like a golden core. Just at this moment, the golden core trembled and then more and more cracks appeared on it. Then, with a bang, all of the celestial spiritual energy in Wang Lin's body rushed outwards and pushed his origin soul out until it was 3 inches away from him. He tried to return it, but there was a powerful force preventing him. Wang Lin's origin soul floated above his body. When he looked down, he could see all the changes happening to his origin soul. When the golden core shattered, the force of the celestial spiritual energy shattered all of the meridians in his body. Right now his body was like an empty shell filled with celestial spiritual energy. All of the pores on his body opened and released strands of celestial spiritual energy. Shortly after, all of the celestial spiritual energy that came out of his pores went back into his body through his orifices. This process turned into a cycle. Wang Lin's body gradually became transparent, and then his clothes slowly disappeared. His 2 bags of holding fell to the ground. The celestial spiritual energy slowly formed meridians inside his body. These meridians were made of celestial spiritual energy, so they would naturally be able to withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy. The flesh on his body started to change too, as celestial spiritual energy began to ingrain into this body. Right now he looked like a celestial being. This process of changing his entire body lasted an unknown amount of time. For this whole period of time, Wang Lin's origin soul was floating above his body. He tried countless times to re-enter his body, but was stopped outside. It was as if the body no longer belonged to him, and he could not fuse with it anymore. On this day, his body began to release a fragrance. This fragrance was very alluring. It was as if some spirit herb had just been unearthed. The fragrance floated out of the cave, causing Du Qian's eyes to light up. His eyes revealed a glint of admiration and he sighed. The first step to the soul transformation stage, body refinement, is complete. Now it's time for the second step, origin soul refining. His hand formed a seal, then a black light immediately surrounded the cave and prevented the fragrance from spreading. The fragrance that results from completing the first step of the soul transformation stage attracts powerful beasts and devils that want to possess the body. However, my soul refining sect specializes in souls, so it's fine if those devils don't come, but if they do, then they can become food for the 1 billion soul flag. I'm not afraid of those beasts either. The soul refining sect's protection formation can keep them all outside. There hasn't been a beast that could make me scared yet. This one dangerous trial of reaching the soul transformation stage was nothing to Wang Lin with Du Qian protecting him, but for those rogue cultivators, or weak sects, it was life-threatening. During the transformation, the origin soul is forced out of the body and the body is left defenseless. If there are some powerful devils or souls around, they can easily possess or devour the body. Even beasts are very interested in a body that has just reached the soul transformation stage. To them, the body is like a natural treasure, and devouring it would increase their strength. Once the origin soul returns to the body and claims the energy inside, then the body becomes useless to the beasts. Inside the cave, Wang Lin reached out with his origin soul, and took out a large number of celestial jades. This time the celestial spiritual energy wasn't absorbed by the body, but by his origin soul. A very comfortable feeling filled Wang Lin's soul. He could feel the celestial spiritual energy enter his origin soul, causing it to become larger and more corporeal. At this moment, Wang Lin understood that once his origin soul becomes corporeal, he will be able to re-enter his body, and he will have successfully reached the soul transformation stage. It takes a very long time for the origin soul to become corporeal. Outside the cave, Du Qian's eyes lit up and he waved his left hand. A golden-purple primary soul flew out, grabbed a black, rogue soul, and dragged it into the soul flag. Du Qian muttered, "This is already the 19th one already. Unfortunately, they are all soul formation soul fragments. If there was a soul transformation one, then the soul flag would have another primary soul." Just at this moment, a golden-purple light flew in from the distance. The protection formation didn't stop it, so it charged directly to the cave. Du Qian's eyes lit up and he let out a laugh. He had made it so that the formation wouldn't stop souls. That was why they had been getting in. Good, come. Du Qian's eyes lit up and he moved. He jumped into the air and reached toward the golden-purple soul. The golden-purple light disappeared and dodged Du Qian's hand, then it charged toward the cave. Seeing that the soul fragment was about to enter the cave, Du Qian quickly moved and in an instant appeared before the soul fragment. He laughed. "Unfortunately, you haven't reached the soul transformation stage, you are only at the border. You won't be able to escape." His hand formed a seal and a giant vortex appeared. Du Qian shouted, "Soul vortex." The soul fragment let out a scream and quickly backed up, but Du Qian was one step ahead. He said, "Capture." A powerful suction force came from the vortex, and the golden-purple soul fragment was dragged toward the vortex. Du Qian let out a smile, but just at this moment, a loud bang came from the soul-refining sect's protection formation. The formation trembled and then completely collapsed. This loud bang immediately echoed throughout the soul-refining sect. Even the three main mountains trembled as a large number of rocks fell off and cracks appeared on them, terrifying the disciples inside. In the sky, a red figure wearing a red robe appeared. This figure gave off an unimaginably powerful aura. At this moment, the sky lost its color and only this figure existed. Zhu Qzi. Du Qian's expression was very ugly. He didn't have time to play with this soul fragment, so he waved the 1 billion soul flag and captured it. Du Qian. Zhu Qzi was wearing a fiery red robe, and his hair was moving without any wind. Although he looked ancient, he still exuded a very oppressive aura. This person casually stood there as the sky darkened. All of the light was coming from his fiery robe, completely displaying his dominance over planet Suzaku. One couldn't feel a strand of spiritual energy, or even celestial spiritual energy in his body, but early-stage ascendant cultivators would be forced to retreat, and even mid-stage ascendant old monsters would unconsciously back up. He was the only late-stage ascendant cultivator on planet Suzaku. The true ruler of planet Suzaku. Zhu Qzi calmly said, "Back then, my country of Suzaku made an agreement with your soul-refining sect. When the country of Suzaku is in danger, you must lend us the 1 billion soul flag. Today this old man is here to borrow the flag. Du Qian, bring it here." "Nonsense." Du Qian gripped the 1 billion soul flag tightly as he stared at Zhu Qzi and shouted, "How come I have never heard of this agreement from any of the ancestors before? Old thief Zhu Q, if you want to steal it, just come and take it, no need to put on this disgusting act." Zhu Qzi looked at Du Qian, shook his head slightly and sighed. "This matter was decided between the first-generation Suzaku and your founding ancestor, so it's natural that you don't know about, but I found out about it in some old records. Today I'm not here to steal but to borrow." With that, he reached out. The sky changed colors and red light gathered from all directions. The red light formed a giant red hand that pressed down toward Du Qian. Du Qian shouted, "Old thief." He waved the soul flag and without any hesitation, released all 1 billion soul fragments. Aside from the fourth soul, the remaining 35 primary souls were also sent out. Everything 100 kilometers was covered in soul fragments. Their screams and shrills filled the area. The combined voice of the 1 billion soul fragments was more powerful than any sound wave treasure. The earth within 100 kilometers began to tremble, and the surrounding mountains collapsed. The 35 primary souls of the 1 billion soul fragment all had fierce expressions as they tore the red hand to pieces. Then they surrounded Zhu Qzi and stared at him viciously. Zhu Qzi looked at the surrounding 1 billion soul fragments. His pupils shrank slightly as he calmly said, "Du Qian, since you remain so stubborn, this old man will have to punish you in place of your ancestors. I said I only wanted to borrow the 1 billion soul flag, so I'll borrow it and then I will return it to you." Du Qian laughed with mockery in his eyes. "Borrow? How long do you want to borrow it for?" Zhu Qzi's expression was serious as he said, "Lend it to the country of Suzaku for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, we will naturally return it. Old thief Zhu Q, my soul-refining sect has a saying, if the flag is here, the sect still exists. If you want it, you can try to take it." Du Qian's eyes became cold as his hands formed a seal, and then he pointed at Zhu Qzi. Fuse. The surrounding 1 billion soul fragments immediately began to gather on the 35 primary souls, and then the primary souls began to fuse with each other. Zhu Qzi's eyes lit up. He couldn't allow this fusion to continue. He reached out and a red feather appeared in his hand. He sent the feather forward, then it suddenly began to burn and release a ghostly light. Holy Suzaku flame! Jukyuzi's ancient voice boomed from his mouth. The burning feather trembled and suddenly collapsed. A surge of fire began to spread with the feather as the center, and immediately covered the surrounding 100 kilometers. The power of this flame was unimaginable. The 3 mountains of the soul refining sect were turned into black, viscous liquid. However, this liquid quickly turned to gas. Even the cave Wang Lin was in disappeared, and Wang Lin disappeared along with the cave. The entire soul refining sect disappeared from planet Suzaku. The hundreds of disciples and even the 3 soul formation elders hiding in the 3 golden rings weren't able to escape this calamity. The 35 primary soul fragments that were about to fuse were also surrounded by the fire. Black gas was floating up from their bodies and they all had painful expressions on their faces. Holy Suzaku flame! Du Qian's face was very ugly. There were 3 ancient jades floating around him. They were blocking the flame. Jukyuzi's expression was calm as he slowly said, Du Qian, the heavens are just. I originally didn't want to do this, but you forced me. Du Qian took a deep breath, bit the tip of his tongue, spat out a large mouthful of blood, and sat down in the lotus position. Then his hand formed a seal and he said, Soul escape. Du Qian wasn't his original name, but his Daoist name that his teacher had given him. He once told Wang Lin that all users of the soul flag have different ways of using it, and his special method was escaping. The 35 primary souls released a green light, and then disappeared from within the fire. When they reappeared, they were before Du Qian. What's this? Jukyuzi was surprised. Fuse. Du Qian spat out more blood. This time the blood landed on one of the primary souls. Then, in an instant, the 34 other primary souls fused with it. In the blink of an eye, an aura that could match Jukyuzi appeared and the sky seemed to have been split in 2. The left side was fiery red, representing Jukyuzi. The right side was black, representing the late-stage ascendant soul formed by the 35 primary souls and 1 billion soul fragments. The moment this soul fragment appeared, it waved its hand, pushing all of the flames that were on the right side to the left side. Like the sky, the ground was split between black and red. Jukyuzi's pupils shrank. His expression was a bit ugly as he stared at the soul and said, Not bad. With that power, it can be considered the top treasure of planet Suzaku. Du Qian's face was deathly pale. He only had less than 2 years left, and now that he had used the soul flag's fusion technique, he was almost out of time. He softly whispered, Kill him. The late-stage ascendant soul fragment didn't go forward, but raised its hand. A rumbling sound came from all directions as clouds gathered to form a human-shaped body. This body was made of clouds and at a glance was no different from a mortal. The ascendant soul fragment took a step forward and fused with the body made of clouds. The cloud person opened his ghostly eyes and stared at Jukyuzi. To form a body from the clouds, that is indeed only something late-stage ascendant cultivators can do. However, you are created from fusion. I want to see how long you can last. Jukyuzi's expression was ugly. With that, he waved his hand. A red light appeared in front of him and transformed into a short, red sword. The moment the sword appeared, the flame on the ground was sucked into the sword. This sword is very ancient, and no one knows its true name. The first generation Suzaku got it, and named it the Suzaku sword. With that, Jukyuzi pointed at the sword with his right hand. The flying sword immediately glowed red, as if it were filled with celestial spiritual energy. This sword was no different from the sword of a celestial. This sword was a celestial treasure. The cloud person's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. His entire right hand flew off and became a sword that was the same as the Suzaku sword. Aside from the color, it looked exactly the same as the Suzaku sword, even the enormous amount of celestial spiritual energy was the same. Then he pointed at Jukyuzi and the small, white sword shot forth. The red and white swords collided with each other like meteors. After a series of collisions, the white sword was clearly no match and was pushed back. However, the red sword had taken hits from the white sword's powerful celestial spiritual energy, so it was slowed down. The cloud person stared at Jukyuzi and let out a faint smile. Then his cloud body collapsed to form 8 more copies of the exact same sword. Each one of them contained an enormous amount of celestial spiritual energy. The 8 swords shot out at once. 3 of them went after the Suzaku sword, and the remaining 5 went toward Zhuqiuzi. Zhuqiuzi's expression was ugly as he backed up few hundred feet. He slapped his bag of holding to take out a gourd, then he muttered, "Collect." The 5 swords were surrounded by a powerful force and then, in the blink of an eye, were trapped inside the gourd. Zhuqiuzi's eyes lit up. He was about to use the gourd to collect the 3 other swords, but just at that moment, he heard crackling sounds coming from the gourd. A second later, a heaven-shattering sound escaped from it. With a bang, the gourd shattered. The 5 swords flew out and stabbed toward Zhuqiuzi without any hesitation. At the same time, the swords that were fighting the Suzaku sword seemed to have received an order, because they ditched the Suzaku sword and quickly flew over. Zhuqiuzi's expression changed greatly and he quickly backed up. It was not that he was no match, but the soul formed by the soul flag was filled with death and was attacking him without any regard for its own safety. Although he was confident he could win, he would definitely be injured. Normally it wouldn't matter, but right now he didn't have much lifespan left either. If he was injured here, his lifespan would shorten. Another important matter was that the second battle with the Forsaken Immortal clan had already begun. If he got injured here, it would be very unfortunate. This video will end here.